AFTV 3-0 to the Arsenal. Tell the truth, was you expecting that today when you came here? Was you expecting a much more difficult game?
So all week I've kind of been talking Forest up because I was expecting a much tougher game. I think, they've got 2 lumps for centre halves, they've got a big lump up front that's a handful, they break at pace and with precision, and we didn't really see any of that today. I think we nullified and controlled the game incredibly well. We limited their ability to transition. When they were able to, we were able to get bodies back and get people back in. Obviously, it led to a few yellow cards in the first half. I thought the referee was a little bit inconsistent, and I thought he made some really poor decisions. But again, Mikel managed that by taking Jorginho off. He had already been on a yellow, and then he gave away a free kick right near the end. And I think at that point it was like we can't run the risk with this referee of doing that. So I think the whole situation was managed quite well. Personally, I was one of the people that when I saw the team sheet at the start of the game, wasn't that thrown off by it. We've been arguing for a few weeks that we needed to change things up. Things have been a bit stale. We haven't really looked as fluid as we wanted to be going forward. And I think we made some changes today. And I think with the period that we've got coming up, games every 3 days, big games, tough games, Mikel's got to start showing a little bit of love to other squad members that haven't maybe had the minutes that they probably would have deserved. Someone like a Jorginho comes in today. You haven't seen much of him today, but he comes in. That's the level of professionalism that you want. And you would expect that some of those players will drop back out on the Tuesday, but what they have hopefully shown Mikel is that when he wants to trust them, that he can bring them in and that they're going to come in and do a job. So for me, that's super important. Saka was absolutely superb today. I find it baffling that people that get paid for their opinions are talking about dropping Saka to play Madueke and stuff like that. And maybe we'll play Saka on the left. No, it's ridiculous. Like the level of respect that people want to give him is poor. But we see it because we watch him week in, week out, and it's absolutely fantastic. And then I suppose you've got to talk about Ethan. You've absolutely got to talk about that cameo. It was probably one that I thought Mikel should have done 10 minutes earlier. I thought the game had gone a little bit stale. They'd started to take a little bit of possession. They'd started to pin us back a little bit. I think the midfield was looking a little bit leggy. You could kind of see that your Calafiori's, your Odegaards, your Sakas were flagging a little bit from where they were recovering from injuries. And I think the change made a real difference.
And a big compliment to him that you're not taking off any player for him to come on. You're taking off Martin Odegaard.
Yeah, you're taking off
right. You know what I mean? And even if it is 15 minutes or whatever, you still got to have a big level of trust in a player to take off your best player to bring on a 17-year-old.
Look, I think we've got to trust in him. I think you have to manage players at that level when they're that early. It becomes really challenging. I know that I saw someone talking the other day about comparing him. He's not Fabregas, and we're comparing him at this age to Fabregas at his end stage when we knew what sort of a player he turned into. But actually, when Fabregas first came through, we had Gilberto and Vieira in the middle of the park, and you're playing Fabregas on the right-hand side just to get him on the pitch, because when you've got players of that quality, you have to make sacrifices to get them on the pitch and get them involved. And I think the biggest compliment that I think about when I think about Nwaneri is that the players trust him. So you see the players giving him the ball in those really tight, tough moments where maybe it's probably easier to just drop it back to Saliba and kind of recycle and go out the other side. And then if you think about the West Ham game where he came on and made that cameo, the rumour was that the players were saying, get Ethan on the pitch. And that showed a year ago that they had trust and faith in him. And what we're seeing now is the culmination of that. And he looks a hell of a player. He looks an absolute hell of a player.
Can we close the gap?
Look, I think if we stay tight to City, I think we're there or thereabouts. I know that people have been talking about Slot and going, Slot comes in 1 year and does this with this side. Then what's Mikel Arteta been doing? You've got to compare the side that Slot took over, which less than
people don't compare.
They don't do that. They don't. You've got to apply a little bit of context. When 10 months ago, at the start of this year, people were talking about Liverpool's favourites for the league. They were in, at one stage they were favourites for the league, and obviously dropped off a little bit towards the tail end. Compare that to the side and the environment that Mikel Arteta came in. So when he talks about trusting the process was eliminating all of that toxicity, all of the issues that we had, building a squad that could play the way that we wanted to play. Slot hasn't had to do that, but he's come in and done a good job. I'm not criticising Slot in any way, shape or form, but let's compare apples with apples, and from that perspective, Slot's done a good job, but Mikel's doing a great job as well. So the criticism on him, he had a lot of pressure on him today. He made big calls and he got the big calls right. Now we go into Tuesday. He's got to get big calls again right on Tuesday, and he's got to understand that we've got big calls to make on Saturday, and then West United on Wednesday the 4th. So we've got some big games. We've got big games coming up every few days, and we have to get it right. What we've probably done with some of the performances and some of the results is lost that margin for error that we might have had. But for me, if we stay relatively close to City, I think we win the league.